Yeah, we're live.
We are live, and we've got nobody at the moment. I
Hey,
don't think
No,
we
she's
have
not.
got
nobody.
practically no one. What a way to start a new show! No
Emma,
scrubber turns up. Perfect.
Emma,
Emma,
get
start
watching.
sharing.
And Viv did promise
Emma,
me. She
start
did
sharing
actually
out
promise me.
too.
I'll be watching tonight. Yeah, of course you are, Viv. Of course you are.
Mhm.
Well, we'll wait for a few people. We'll wait for a few people to come in, and then what we'll do is we'll start. We'll start. We
Yeah.
must get our own picture for up in the corner where the ghost is. We must have a
Hey,
separate one.
do you want a separate
This
one?
is so cool.
Yeah, we need a
I did
separate
that
one, and
right, right?
we need an intro as well. If anybody's good at doing
Yeah.
intros,
I was gonna try to make one for you, but you said you were gonna do it. So
yeah, but you don't trust me. Eric, you should know.
I
Never
mean,
doesn't listen to me.
well, I have to. You're in charge of this one.
Oh no, I'm not in charge. Don't put me in charge.
no, you're in charge, Eric.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I like that, Tim. Eric, you're in charge.
Okay.
It takes anything goes
Oh, there's
wrong.
one person.
Down to you, Eric.
Okay.
Well, we
Well,
got
there's
one person. Is that? Do you reckon that's Emma? Is that you,
Might be
Emma?
Emma. Is that you,
That's you.
Emma?
Hello, Emma. Or whoever's there, say hello to us, please. Just put your. Oh, three of you. Now you're coming in. This is what we're waiting for. Right.
You
Well,
see,
good
the thing,
evening, everybody. And welcome
the thing
to
is,
a new. Yeah, go on, Tim.
we should have posted this on as up and coming earlier, maybe yesterday or something,
We did.
so more
We put
people
it
knew
out.
it
We
was
put
going
it
to
out.
happen.
We put it out on blast over the show last night, but
No,
I've experienced.
I mean, put a post on the Facebook page, kind of thing,
Yeah.
saying, do you know what I mean? This is
Yeah,
coming
we
on
can do
tomorrow
that.
night or something.
We
Yeah,
can do
yeah.
that. We can do that next
I
week.
don't
Can't
even
we?
know how to pronounce that.
Siobhan. Hiya,
Siobhan.
Siobhan. I hope you're doing well there.
Hey,
There you go. Our first person to be brave enough to come forward and share their name with us. Thank you very much,
Mhm.
Siobhan. And there's two others now. Oh, hiya,
Yep.
Rita. Oh, Rita and Siobhan.
Rita.
They're doing
Ah, we
two
know
very much-
Rita.
We do know Rita.
I hope so.
I've heard of Rita before.
Rita's my wife.
Right.
She both our viewers, or a couple of our viewers, probably just in the opposite rooms to where you two are.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it shows you how much my wife thinks of me. She's not even bothered tuning in.
Oh,
I can live with that. I can live with that. So I think what
Okay,
we'll do is
Dan.
we'll wait for a couple of others to come in, then we can start. Because we don't want to be reiterating everything once we've.
And
Yeah. Do you
I'm
know what?
going-
Stuff
no,
it. Should we do
no,
it? Should we do it?
else they won't know what's happening. Emma, are you
Exactly.
tuned in?
Can you still see me okay?
Yeah,
I don't
you're
even
good,
know.
mate, you're good.
She might be in the bath.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
Oh, what happened? I will share this. No, I don't want
We're
to.
from two of us are from England, and the fella Eric, he's from the States.
Yep. Which I will be English in about a
He
year
will,
or so.
yes, he will. One of us. He'll be one of us.
Oh, dear.
Right, do you know what? I'm not going to wait too long because this is the point where Viv starts sharing out and doing stuff like that. So I'm going to get to the meat of the actual program. So this evening, we decided, you can see the Gnomes of Woolton Park. What is Woolton Park? You obviously know what Gnomes are.
Wow.
So I'm going to explain to you what Woolton Park is. Woolton Park is an absolutely beautiful stately home in Nottinghamshire, and it's in 500 acres of parkland grounds. And hiya, Jamie. Welcome to the show.
Jamie.
And what's unique about Woolton Park? Well, it speaks for itself. The gnomes are unique about Woolton Park because back in 1978, there were 6 to 7 children that had an experience there one evening about 8 o'clock. And the experience they had, they were playing inside the park or inside the grounds of the park, and it was getting late, and they were walking past the swampland, and they said that as they looked through the fence into the swampland, they could see loads of little faces looking back at them. And these little faces were quite wrinkly. They had long white beards. They were archetypal gnomes, basically. But the unusual thing about them is they were driving cars. I know it's weird, isn't it? It sounds really odd. But it gets even weirder than that, because these cars could actually fly, and they could navigate themselves through the woodlands and through the forest, jump over logs and over branches and over boughs, and follow the children wherever they were. Now, the children said, even though they felt okay, they were still slightly frightened. They were still frightened, like terrified, more or less, of what was going to happen. Because even though they weren't showing any animosity towards the children, I think that they were getting a little bit, or concentrated a little bit too much on what the children were doing. And they chased the children, and the children ran all the way up the drive, through the fence, with the gnomes chasing them in their cars, got to the other side of the fence, and they said that the gnomes stopped exactly where they were. Whether they couldn't leave the grounds or whether they didn't want to leave the grounds is up for guess. But it's a very, very interesting story, and I do suggest that anybody that has got an interest in the Fae or fairies goes and looks it up, because it's a really interesting story. And tonight we're going to be talking about it, and we're going to hopefully come to some conclusion, or our conclusion, as to what we think it was. Now, the cars that they were driving, they were silent. There was no noise coming from them. And they said that they had a wheel that they would steer it by. Not a steering wheel, but a wheel. And each car carried 2 gnomes, or 2 of these little people. Wow. And it was such an unusual story that when they went back home the next day, the headmaster, he got wind of this little excursion they went on, and he sat them down, and he wanted to take every bit of information from them as to what happened and what occurred. So he obviously thought that it was credible, and he thought it was believable. However, roll on 20 years later, 30 years later, and those children, nobody can find them. Nobody knows where they are. They've got both. They've got the names of the children, the surnames of the children, and the first names of the children, but nobody really knows what happened to them. Now, the guy has tried to put, or a few people have tried to put out messages over Facebook, trying to get in contact with them to further the information about the experience that they had, but the children are very loath to come forward. And in fact, there was one child, one of them was a boy, and he grew up and he started working, I think he was in the industrial area, and he worked with another lad who said that he spoke to him about the gnomes, and the lad that had the experience turned around and said, no, we just made it up. It was actually the idea of a friend of ours, and we thought we'd go along with it, right? Now, the question is, did he say that because it was made up, or did he say that because he was of an age, 20, 21 at the time, where he probably felt embarrassed to admit to what happened and didn't want to share it any further? I think it's probably the latter. But the interesting thing about it is that this story goes back a lot further, because in 1900, there were a couple that were visiting from Scotland, and they decided that what they would do is they would visit their friends, and then for the morning, they would go up to Woolton Manor, Woolton Park. And they got there early morning, and as they drove in, they said there was little men, around about 2 to 3 feet high, dressed as policemen, that were actually smiling and waving at them.
Yeah.
And another experience was had by a woman later on, 30 years later, in 1930s. So bearing in mind, this is sort of 50, 60, 70, 80 years before the children had the experience. And this woman was, she was an aunt of somebody's aunt, and she was a real no-nonsense person. And she wouldn't suffer fools gladly. And they said that she wouldn't come out with stories or anything like that. But she did say to her nephew and niece that when she was a young girl, she went to the park with a friend of hers and her mother, and her and a friend were having a picnic. And by the reeds, they saw little people walking around the edge. And she pointed, and when they saw her, they retreated back into the woodland, into the area, into the reeds, so that they were just completely and utterly missing. So that's the story of the gnomes of Wilton. But it goes much deeper than that, because even today, people are still trying to get to the grassroots of what it was. So, guys, I want to throw it out to you two. What do you think?
Like you said, Dan, there's been stuff and strange sightings going on there for years. Like you said, 1900 it started. There's actually also been seen like a wild man of woodwows in there, in the park there, and it's right in the centre of Nottingham, isn't it?
It's right bang in the
around,
centre.
Yeah, like say 500 acres, so fairly big. So it's, it's just, there's been a I've got some notes as well here. But there's been a wild man seen there. Somebody saw an apparition, a white, bright light in the swamp area, supposedly there.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, it was used.
I didn't know that about the woodwoes. That's really interesting.
Yeah. I found that today. Yeah, I can't remember the date it was, but yeah, a wild man was seen there. It was also used in the film Dark Knight Rises.
It was Bruce Wayne's manor, wasn't it? Or Wayne Manor.
Yeah, it was the manor. Yeah. It's been used in lots of films.
That's
and
right.
It's a deer park now. They've got a big herd of deer in there now as well. I did ride through it once on my bike, but a long time ago. But what a fascinating story!
But it looks beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful.
What a fascinating story!
It is a fascinating story, and it strikes me as it's the type of place that is gonna. If you're gonna have fae or fairies anywhere, and you have gnomes, and you have all sorts of wonderful, nature creatures, nature spirits, then that's the perfect place for them.
Oh yeah,
because lots of different bits of the environment going on. A lot of it now it's under it's actually been maintained and it's been worked to keep it as natural as possible. So yeah, it's intriguing, and it would be interesting to see how many other people out there have had experiences but either just shook it off or not known about the experiences other people have had, because it would nice to people to document it all.
Yeah, people are worried to say what they see, aren't they? Even now.
Yeah.
You know, because of ridicule and that. I even thought like that. I stuff I saw, I thought, I ain't going to tell nobody. But now I've got to my age now, I thought I don't care anymore.
You don't care anymore.
I'll be a silly old man. I don't care what they think about me. Do you know what I mean?
No, I agree with you fully. I think myself, people have thought I'm a dickhead all my life, so I might as well be a dickhead now and tell them exactly what's happened. But it's odd. It's just an odd one, and it smacks very much of the fae. But then it also something that kind of rung true with me is the fact that they had vehicles they said they were cars. Their lights were and that they made no noise, but they floated and they whizzed around, which to me seems almost like some sort of ufology thing.
Chasing them and everything else.
There's actually sorry, Eric.
Oh, it's okay. I was just chasing them around. It was weird, jumping over trees and red cars like the background. That's what they said.
Yeah, they said they were like little noddy bubble cars. So that's the sort of thing you would expect from an Enid Blyton story. But then what's to say that there's not elements of truth in those stories?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Well, especially if people keep seeing them all the time, then it's got to be something to it. You know what I mean?
There's something there. There's definitely something very magical going on in that park. It would be nice to know the full history of it, to be honest with you. And if there was a pagan settlement there, or whether the land itself, and obviously the land itself was pagan at some point, but what was going on there?
Actually, they've been seen not only there as well. I've got a Hartford in 1929. There was a little gnome seen flying a plane.
Wow!
Listen, do you know
that? And one of them landed in a shop just up the road from me. And I'll be honest with you, plenty of evenings I've been pissed up and seen a few gnomes flying. So, I don't know if that's anything to do with that, but yeah. But no, there has been one seen in Hartford.
They've been seen. There's one in Cornwall, a little gnome seen in Cornwall,
isn't it?
In 1940. I love Cornwall.
Cornwall is your archetypal esoteric land, isn't it? Really, it's very magical, very mystical.
Piskies,
land of Cornish Piskies.
Yeah.
But I
try to go Cornwall every year, at least once. Once a year.
Yeah, I love Cornwall. It's brilliant. It's like touching base when you go to Cornwall, and it's like
Bodmin Moor.
Oh, gorgeous.
Beautiful.
And of course, well known for the Beast of Bodmin, as it was.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
It's interesting because not just there. I mean, Woolton Park is obviously sort of existential, isn't it? The story, but it'd be interesting to know how many other people have had experiences, maybe not just there, but in different places, and how many people. I think there is a thing now called the I can't think it was called the Theory Podcast or what, something like that. It's very good.
Yeah.
And people go on there and they talk about experiences that they've had with the
I don't
Fae.
know. I don't know if you can see this.
What's
Maybe not.
that's
Can you see
that's
that
it. That's the layout of it,
Yeah,
isn't it?
that's the map of the park. You know?
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And they said that
It was
they
the top
experienced them in
end.
a swamp area.
Yeah.
Swamp area.
Yeah, they said they experienced them in a swamp area. But to be honest, from what people have said, they've seen people through different years or different decades have seen them dotted about all over the place. So they're not just restricted to the swamp area. But it would be intriguing and interesting to know what they are. Are they nature spirits?
Yeah.
I would think so. I would think so, to be honest with you. They sort of scream it. But as I say, there's this ufology thing in the back of my head where they're flying these cars that are very, very silent, you know. But then what's to say that they're not all interconnected? All of this supernatural, esoteric stuff is interconnected at some level. Excuse me.
There was a backlight, wasn't there? There was a light supposedly behind them, a big glowing light behind them.
Yes.
As they were coming forward. So was that a portal? Was it some kind of
it's interesting.
UFO?
It's interesting because the guy said that he was working, he was a builder, and he was coming back at night about 6 o'clock at night, half 6 rather, and it was winter and it was dark, and they were coming along and they were driving along the road. So you got on your left hand side, you've got the I suppose I've not been there, a wall or a fence that fences in the 500 acres and the house, and in the road. It bounced. It was like a light, an orange light that bounced and went up and over the actual wall. And it threw them so much that they pulled up, got out of their van and tried to get over to see what it was. So it obviously had that much of an impression upon them.
Yeah.
All around that. So, and that sounds very Fae as well, doesn't it? You know,
it does.
Like Will-o' the Wisp, if you like, you know.
It does.
But it is intriguing. It is intriguing and very interesting. And I'd just like to find out how many people out there have these experiences.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
People need.
Well, there's a group of people. Go ahead.
Sorry?
Well, there's a group of people called gnome hunters. I was reading a story on it. Yeah, for the Wilton Park, there's a group that actually takes tours of the park with people searching for these gnomes.
So have they ever had any experiences, do you know? Have they ever come across anything?
I didn't see anybody say they did, but they're really believing it and take people out there.
The one thing I did notice about it, and I can only go on the stories that have been documented, and the one thing I did notice about it, with the exception of the two people that went from Scotland and saw the little people by the gatehouse, inside by the big stately home that were dressed like police officers.
Thank you, Mary.
All the other ones that have experienced it have been children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that age of innocence that they're open to.
Yeah.
You know. But they were said that they were smiling and giggling and just diving about. Hiya, Mary.
Hey.
Who have we got in the chat? Who have we got to say hello to, Eric?
Emma, you on yet, Emma?
Mary.
Hiya, Viv.
William, Southie.
Young William, yes. Hello, William. I hope you and your baby are doing well, sir.
Yeah, they say the children are more incensed to all this stuff, aren't they?
Yeah. And I wonder if it's the age of innocence. You know, it's that. You know.
Before they lose those senses that we've got naturally.
Yeah, I can go along with that. I mean, I used to. When I was a kid, I had experiences and I saw things that could only be described as paranormal, supernatural. Yeah. And I had a few of them. And then I got to about 7 or 8 and it went. Nothing ever after that, nothing at all. And it's almost like a curtain comes down, doesn't it? You step into real life and you start to experience the harshness of it, and that then taints you.
Well, I think part of that part is too is that when I was younger, I was able to see spirits and stuff, and I think it either just scared me enough where I stopped wanting to, or enough of my parents saying there's no such thing as ghosts.
Yeah. I mean, they do, don't they? I mean, I think that people seem to be, from what I can make out with TV programs, and I'm not watching them much anymore, but people seem to be more accommodating with their kids, so they don't automatically jump to the fact that it's just in your head. People seem to be a lot more understanding now. Years ago, a lot of things weren't spoken around. What was that? Sorry, what was that Lorna say?
Yeah.
And
children are lower to the ground.
Yeah, it could very well be a part of that. Absolutely, Lorna. Absolutely. But I think it's an age of innocence thing. I think that's why children seem to experience it more. Yeah. I had an experience. I would never talk about it, because if I spoke about an experience that I had as a kid, everybody take the piss. So I would never, ever talk about it. But I had an experience when I was around about 7. And it was, of all places, it was in a woodland.
Wow.
And I saw something in a woodland that didn't, according to the law of the world, according to everything, it doesn't exist. But I'll tell you, this did. This did. And it didn't frighten me, because I was more enamored with looking at it and seeing how beautiful it was. And and I will never tell people, because I know it opens you up to ridicule.
Definitely.
Well,
I don't care anymore. I'd love to say.
Yeah. No, you get to a point where you don't. I've told my daughter what it was, and she was okay.
Emma saw something.
Emma, what, mate?
Emma saw a fairy when we was in Clovelly. Well, on a walk.
Tell us about that, Tim.
Yeah, she would have been about 11 or 12, I think, at the time. Yeah. And Clovelly, North Devon, we used to do a lovely, it was a proper fairy tale walk.
Gorgeous. Through
these old woods. She said there was a fairy, but I saw an orb. I saw a little bright light floating through the tree. But she said it was a fairy. So her interpretation of it was different to mine, because I was an adult. And I think she would have been about 11 or 12-ish, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little. So it was it appeared as an orb to me.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that children do see things differently, and probably see them in their true light, I would imagine.
Yeah, I reckon. Because they have imaginary friends, don't they? Yeah, they have imaginary friends, kids.
Kids aren't judgmental, are they?
Are they imaginary, or is this friends really there?
Well, exactly. And are they ghosts, or are ghosts or spirits of humans, or are they indeed the fae that they're dealing with? Because, as you know, houses, I'm a big believer in the fae, completely, 100%. And I think that houses do have things like brownies and stuff like that. Exactly, Viv, completely.
Yeah.
And, they could be interacting with those. Who knows?
Well, and two, I've been finding out more and more with people with cameras have been seeing these things run around their house when no one's home. And I tell you, if you get a chance to watch every single season of Paranormal Caught on Camera, even though that some of it might be fake, a lot of it catches a lot of the stuff that we talk about.
Yeah, I remember seeing a video years ago. It was in Mexico, of all places, and they caught a gnome on cameras there. Nobody could actually debunk. They might be able to debunk it now. I don't know, but they couldn't at the time. And they sent it off to I think it was the FBI at the time, to their lab to have a look at this footage. And even the FBI came back and said, well, we can't see any contamination with the film. We can't see where it was tampered with. Yep. So what you're seeing on there had to have actually been at the time, had to have actually been in like there in reality. And that was it was kids playing football, kids again, young kids, Mexico, and they were kicking a ball about in the street, and the ball went over there, And then you saw, and it was the weird thing was, he was your archetypal gnome. Long beard, hat, little red boots, and you could see it run across.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh shit, they've seen me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they tried to stamp off the cover. Of course, the kids got terrified and they bolted. But it's a global phenomenon, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
You know, I remember reading an article once about a woman, a young woman, probably about 19, 20. And her story was that she was walking through the woods and she loved the woodlands, absolutely loved nature, you know, like we all do. And she gave this tree a hug, just wanted to hug a tree, gave this tree a hug. Not something that she was wont to do all the time, but she just felt like she wanted to give this tree a hug. And then she heard a chuckle, and she said when she looked up into the tree, there was looked like a young man, but he was dressed like something from a fairy tale, but he was looking down at her and giggling at her and waving. And she said, and then bang, he was gone.
This is a good question.
Just disappeared. Does anyone know where the garden gnome come from and why it's still popular?
That was going to be my question.
Oh, go on.
That was going to be my question.
Answer it. Can you answer it?
I can't. No, I ain't got a question. I was going to say exactly the same thing as Viv. Where did the gnome and the idea of a gnome come from? Who started it all off?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, I guess.
Yeah. Any viewers know?
Hi, Carl. How you doing well, buddy?
Haven't seen him in a while, too. Wow.
He's over your side now, aren't you, Carl? You're living in the States now. You're
so.
In Las Vegas at the moment, I think. Whooping it up, having the time of his life. Good luck to him. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. But no, I don't know. But it seems funny that the image that we have over here is the global image. It's an image that they seem to have worldwide.
Yeah.
It doesn't differ.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Differ. I mean, obviously, the thing with the fairies and the wings and stuff like that, we know that a lot of that came from Disney. But I do wonder, I mean, when you see things like these artists that, like, you know, I mean, you've got Enid Blyton and stuff like that, when they write their books and they describe these things, are they being told how to describe them? Are they having the messages put into their head? Well, she's going to write about us. So what we'll do, when she writes about us, we'll describe how we look. I mean, how they? Who knows? It's mad. Why does Noddy hang around with a gnome?
Actually, there was one that I was watching on YouTube. I think it was a guy was taking little pictures of gnomes and hanging out with them. They were just sitting on a tree or a branch or something.
Do you know what? That's all. Yeah, that's he's great, isn't he? I love it. It's obviously he fabricates it all.
Yeah,
it's lovely. It's lovely. He does. Yeah, I can't think of the chap's name, but he does. He's got a long beard, isn't he, and a mad haircut and stuff. And he just sits there, doesn't he? And they come out, and he says, "There's one behind me now," and you can see it. And the way that he does it looks brilliant. It's absolutely superb. So what have we got here? So why does Noddy hang around with a gnome? I don't know. Is that Big Ears the gnome in it? Is that Big Ears?
Big Ears the gnome.
He is, isn't it?
But Noddy's got the hat as well, isn't he? He's a trainee gnome.
With the bell, yeah, he is. He's got the bell on the end of it as well, and he let everybody know he's coming.
Emma's telling me that it's Germanic. It all started with Germanic.
Yeah, it does. It stems from Germanic. Yeah. Does Emma know where the idea of the clothing and that came from?
That's true.
Is the leprechaun just an Irish gnome? Well, do you know what? They're all fey. I think they're all fey, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think they're all pretty much of a muchness. They're all pretty much the same thing. I just think.
If you go to the weird part of all this, okay, Bigfoot, Dogman, gnomes, fairies, whatever, where do they all come from, and why are there so many different species of them?
Well, yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I remember watching a guy, one day, Irish guy they were talking to him about fairies and the fae and stuff, and they said to him about people don't have many experiences with them now in built-up areas and urban areas. And he said, no, well, you won't really find many of them in built-up areas and urban areas now. And they said, well, why? And he said, because the electricity interferes with them.
Yep.
It does something. It causes an imbalance with them. So how he do that, I don't know. So he said that's why you'll find them in the dark recesses in areas that are quiet and untouched. Sadly, there aren't that many areas like that left anymore, are there? So,
and that's what I'm going to get at too, is that the problem is with us expanding humanity so much, are we going to run them out of extinction? You know,
I think there's always going to be areas that are going to be untouched. I think there's always going to be areas that man won't be able to get to. But it seems sad that everything has to be pushed back to the periphery to make room for sprawling cities and towns. What's that Viv says? Do you think that there are bad and nasty ones as well as the good? You only hear about the good ones. Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I wouldn't want any dealings with them because by all accounts, they're quite tricky. You don't really want to be getting into dealings with them because they're very clever and you always end up coming unstuck with it. So, yeah, it's not something that I would relish.
I guess they're all
Go
ahead.
Is it the trolls that hang out under bridges? Are they the not so pleasant ones? The trolls.
Yeah, the trolls as well. They're meant to take a coin from you, aren't they, to cross the bridge? They were sort of guardians of the bridges, aren't they? Or guardians of between one. But I often wondered if that is a metaphor for with the troll and the bridge. I often wondered if it was a metaphor of the bridge being the bridge being the step from this life into the next.
It could be.
You know, like we have the sticks, don't we? The river sticks, and they say pay the ferryman, you pay the ferryman the penny, and then the ferryman takes you across. Which is why years ago, people when they died, they had pennies put in their eyes to pay the ferryman, wasn't it? And I often wonder if this is just another spin on, or has it derived from, or has it become about in a way that it's come from one thing, a troll, and then they've used it in that, and is it a step? Is the bridge from this world into the next? It's completely wrong, probably, but no, exactly, Emma. You don't fuck with the Fae, exactly. No, and do you know what? Anybody that thinks that they want to or they choose to are absolute mugs. You know, there's quite a few people that come unstuck with that. I mean, even in Ireland now, there's places in Ireland that they won't touch they'll build. What is it? They build around certain trees. They'll build around what are fairy faults. And they even recently, I mean, the last 15 years, they rerouted a road at the costs of millions and millions and millions of pounds not to interfere with a thorn bush. Because they said that it was the Fae that lived there. They didn't want to upset them.
I remember that.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
And even people that in Ireland, when they build houses, they make sure that there's not a fairy path running through the land. Because they'll move the house one side or the other so that it does. Because if you upset them, they're gonna make your life a living hell. So something you don't want to experience, but very intriguing. And like Emma says, you don't want to mess with them.
Yeah, and I think they're all nice until you do something that makes them mad. So then you're in trouble.
It doesn't. But then apparently, if you give them offerings and stuff like that, they're meant to, but keep your distance. Then they're meant to be respectful. But there's always people out there that want to try and take advantage, aren't there? And there are certain things you should never take advantage of, and the Fae is definitely one of them. But they are interesting. They are intriguing. Would I like to see one? I don't know.
I would.
Maybe I would. Maybe I wouldn't.
I would.
Maybe I wouldn't. They do. And that's the thing about Iceland. I was saying that last night, Emma. The thing about Iceland is, you probably know it anyway, Emma, but the thing about Iceland and places like the Nordic countries is they're still based in paganism. They're still very much, their main religion is still paganism. And so this stuff that we go on about over here as fairy tales and all of that type of stuff, to them it's biblical stories or stories that have got some form of gravitas to them, which I find interesting.
And you got to wonder with the history, before people started writing stuff down and everything was word of mouth, how much of it was lost by the time they started writing it down,
Yeah, yeah. Well, the Druids, they didn't really write anything down, did they? As such, it was all sort of bards and stuff and word to mouth and what have you. So a lot of that got lost in translation. Yay, yes. Absolutely. So it's interesting. It intrigues me. It does intrigue me. And I think that there's a lot more out there that people are experiencing but not coming forward and telling.
I reckon too, yeah. I totally agree with that.
It's a shame.
I mean,
really, I understand it.
Yeah, I can, but as I've got older, I've got to care less what people think, and I just say what I think now. And
it's true that, isn't it? It's true that.
Do you know what I mean? I think younger people just want to fit in, don't they? And not say what they see, and I think so.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because your parents would have given you that advice when you were young. They would have said to you, you know what, you'll get to the age where you don't care, or just don't care about what people think. And then when you get to their age,
but also
you think they're right.
But also your parents, I don't know if they did with you, every parents, but my parents used to say, oh, there's no such thing as that. There's no such thing as this. Yeah, that used to be the saying when I was a kid.
I think that was the same with a lot of them.
And you used to believe it.
Same with a lot of parents.
You used to believe that, didn't you? Because your mum and dad told you that, so that's what you believe. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably why people won't talk about their experiences. Because of that, people of that generation that didn't want, not interested in that. And then I guess from their point of view, I mean, even though they were probably young, growing up through wars and stuff, they had all that to contend with. They had rationing to contend with. They had, the world was on its arse, wasn't it, really, for about 20, 30 years after the war. So they probably had more reality.
Oh, God, yeah.
A lot harsher.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. And like I say, the Woolton Park, we'll have to go there one day, Tim and Eric.
Yeah.
We'll have to go
definitely.
There one day. We'll have to go there one day.
Well, these gnomes have got to be, they obviously can't be flesh and blood creatures, can they? Because that wouldn't sustain them in that 500 acres, would it?
No.
So it's obviously supernatural thing, isn't it?
It definitely is. And it reminds me very much. It reminds me very much as well. We were talking, Eric, we talked about this last week, weren't we? About the night. And I never knew anything about this until last week. And I was reading an article or a book, and it came up. And then I went on the internet, and you do your research and you think, bloody hell, I never even knew that. That even in Native Americans have got a form, like, I suppose, would you call it a gnome? Certainly little people. Yeah. I would think Fae, but they are like miniature Native Americans.
Yep.
And people see them.
Wow.
And they're like proper native, like Indians, proper Native Americans. They're dressed like them. There's almost the same cultural aspect to them. And when people see them, they run and hide, which is exactly as your nature spirit type of thing to do, isn't it? Mm. Right. People with Charles Bonnet syndrome see fairies. It's a documented symptom. I didn't know that. I'll have to look that up, Noreen. That's interesting.
I gotta
there's some people as well that have got some syndrome where people see people's faces as demons, don't they? I know that one. Is that the same thing, Noreen? Where people, is it a similar thing or a element of it? I'll have to look that up. That sounds interesting.
I'm gonna write that down.
And I can understand that if one person experienced it, but then when you've got several people at the same time experiencing exactly the same thing, I would think that that's more in a form of reality than just somebody suffering with a syndrome. But it is interesting. So what do you boys think?
Definitely.
I mean, we've definitely got to get out to Wilton at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
While the weather's nice, because it's only up the road from you, really, isn't it? It's only in Nottingham, and it's not far
from you. It's not far from me.
No.
we was up there a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh, well, you were at
investigating in no, not Wilton. In a place called the Weird Shop. That Weird Shop.
Oh, I heard about
ghost
that.
hunting.
Oh, do you know what? I've never seen. Is that a new one?
No,
it's been
it's quite.
years.
I've never seen that.
Yeah,
It's
fantastic.
We've done the Paranormal Museum there, which is superb. We did that, the Paranormal Museum, and we also did the Robin Hood experience.
Oh yeah.
All right.
That's not an option anymore. Well, it might be.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to get too far into it, but suffice to say,
Your shop is great.
yeah, suffice to say something happened there. Right. Do you think that because we as a people have forgotten how to meditate or open up, have lost the ability to converse with these nature creatures?
Oh, yeah,
I think in some element we've stepped away from our natural rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the ancestors would know exactly what they are and probably would have lived amongst them and dealt with them and maybe had some sort of relationship. Whereas we've just not only lost our relationship with them, but because of this, I suppose, this false world that we put around us, we've lost a lot of our relationship with nature.
Yep.
So totally. We've been brainwashed into all kinds of things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? And that's the thing. I mean,
people rely on technology and shops more than they should do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, it's not talking about electricity and stuff like that. And go on, mate. Go on.
You know, but even when I was a kid, my granddad, he taught. He was a proper countryman, and he taught me all the things you could eat and in the countryside, and plants and berries and all these what we could eat. But now the kids. Well, I'm not slagging all the kids off and what have you. It's not their fault. They've been drawn into this, but that's the way it is now. It's totally technology. They're all on their computers. They ain't got a clue what's going on in the countryside.
No,
and it's the same with the you know, it's intuition and the senses are all going, aren't they? Because they don't need them anymore.
No. I mean, you're right. I mean, you go back at the advent of when technology really started roller coasting and started to really pick up momentum. It's 150 years ago. Before that, people used to live on their wits. They lived with nature. So they were in rhythm with it. They were in step with it. But like you say, your great-granddad and that, you know, they would have been brought up in an environment where it was the physical side of it. But now you tell kids to look at go out and look at the woods. They'd rather look at it for a screen than they would go out, step outside the door and look at it.
Yeah.
In reality, you know.
Yeah.
But is that the parents? Is that the parents' fault for not? Is that the parents' fault for not taking them out to the woods? And
I think it's society.
You know what I mean?
I think it's society's fault. Well, not for society, but you see, getting into it, not something you really want to get into. But I just think that people have been manipulated.
Yeah. We've been brainwashed. That's what I said.
Yeah, exactly. And what it is they're manipulated to the point where they've been forced to step away from it. Charles Bonnet syndrome affects the sight and suffers don't see theories is a very common symptom. A right friend of mine did a podcast with a person who has Charles Bonnet. That's right. That's an interesting thing, actually. I'll have to look that up. But it's interesting.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Excellent. Yeah, that's good. Thanks for that, Noreen. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think we've stepped away from the natural element. We're out of step with it, aren't we? We're out of pace with it, and unless something like I do sometimes hope for. I know it's bad, isn't it? But you do, in some instances, hope for a big sun flare that wipes out a lot of the tech. Not obviously people in hospitals and stuff. You don't want that, but wipes out.
No, I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that we can get back to the grassroots of things.
Get back to
nature. Go out, tree like I did when I was younger. I spent my life in the woods. I climbed trees up to 300-400 feet high.
Yeah.
Me too.
Like it.
Me too.
Nothing like it, is it? Running around a
Yeah.
woodland looking for little animals and scurrying around.
And you didn't know danger.
Yes.
No.
You didn't know danger, did you?
No. And that's the thing. Go on, Tim.
I think you first again.
Well, you'd go out. You'd go out in the morning in the summer holidays, and then you wouldn't come back till dark.
No.
Because you was
And
out there, wouldn't you, all day? You know.
And that's one thing that I noticed with the children that were at Wilton Park. They said it was a school night and they were out 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And the parents obviously weren't fussed because they knew they were out playing and stuff. And even though there were things that happened that run toward then, the chance of it happening were very, very remote, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Viv says Jay has special needs syndrome.
Yeah,
he screams and cries, hates to think how he would react to a gnome. He would probably think he was a mirror, Viv.
Oh, Joe, man.
So yeah, I mean, it is an interesting one, but I don't know. It's the Fae is such an interesting subject, and we'll be getting into more of that over the course of a few weeks.
Are we? We're gonna discuss it more.
Yeah. There's another one I want to discuss, but I'm not going to tell them on here, but because we'll keep it secret, and then we
keep it as a surprise.
Yeah, keep it under your gnome hat, as they say. I'm going
to get myself a gnome hat, I think, instead of
that's all I need now. I think with a bell on the end of it. I've got the gut. I've got
Emma's shaking her head at me.
Yeah, you can give me
you got.
I was thinking that too. I go, wait, that looks a lot like me.
We're all got Eric. We're all halfway there. Look.
There you go.
This is going to get longer.
We're almost gnomes.
Eric.
We're almost gnomes. We're almost.
Yeah, we are almost gnomes, aren't we?
Yep.
Yeah. We're almost a gnome.
Yeah, where were you in 1978, Eric? Were you anywhere near Wilton Park?
Yeah.
In a little car?
Yep. I was 8 years old.
8 years old. You were young.
8. Oh my God.
7 actually. So.
God. I left school in 1975.
Did you? I love the children's program in the 70s was so much better, wasn't it? There was so much supernatural stuff going on. It was just fantastic.
Yeah. The 70s were great, man. Great.
Did you say you left school in 75?
Yeah.
Wow.
I did. And then we had the really hot summer of 76.
I remember that because all the water, it was a dry bed, wasn't it, of all the rivers and stuff.
We had standpipes in Northampton, yeah.
Yeah, we had them in Enfield. Everybody go down with a bucket, turn the pipe on, get your water, turn off, go back again. Yeah.
It was quite worrying. And the scientists were spouting out there's going to be an ice age coming. That was the thing in the 70s, an ice age. Now it's global warming.
I'm still waiting for it. Isn't New York's meant to be under 10 foot of water by now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
But if you look it up, there's been 5 different ice ages already. So
yeah, we're probably due one. Apart from down AKO, put Viv in a Santa hat.
Yeah, Viv would look great in a Santa hat or a gnome hat.
She's got the beard and everything.
Oh my days.
I'm going to get the shit kicked out of me now. I know this is coming.
You are. God, you're a brave man.
And a mini skirt.
And a mini skirt.
Oh, dear.
A mini skirt.
There you go.
So what about you lot in the chat? What do you think it could have been? Has anybody got any ideas? Has anybody heard of the Gnomes of Woolton Park? Sounds like a kids' program, doesn't it? But it's not.
I know, right?
It does, doesn't it?
I bet they haven't. Nobody's heard of it, have they?
No, it's a very weird and unusual one, which is why I wanted to kick the show off with that one.
Yeah, that was a good idea.
Mm.
I didn't ever know about it until you said something about it and looked it
Yeah,
up. Okay.
I reckon.
It's food for thought. It's food for thought, definitely.
Well,
Rita will be good as
it's
a pixie.
yeah. You see, you've got not only gnomes, you've got pixies and leprechauns and piskies and
got the lot.
trolls and Christ knows they're everywhere, aren't they? It's just a different name for the same thing, I guess.
Yeah,
wherever you live in the world and the country.
Yeah. And are these things, I mean, do you know what? Even things like, I do wonder sometimes, things like Bigfoot and stuff like that, are they nature spirits, but are they the same thing, but do people see them differently? So whereas you or
That's what I think.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas you and I would see Bigfoot as a great big 15-foot hairy man, do kids see him as something else?
Yeah. That's why.
Go ahead. I do
when I was telling you about sorry, Eric. You go.
No, all right. Well, I do know that watching some shows, especially Grizzly Show, and I'll mention him on here. Sorry.
No, Chris is great.
A lot of the people see these Bigfoot eating like deer. I mean, actually devouring it with the blood all over.
Yeah.
So why would a fae or a spirit do that? You know what I mean?
I suppose they have to live, don't they? I suppose they. I mean, because they're fae doesn't necessarily mean they're vegetarian.
Yeah.
I'm married to Bigfoot.
And do fae eat though? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, it all depends on whether they're. See, the idea about Bigfoot and dogmen and stuff like that, people have said that they are supernatural, but then when they enter our dimension or our world, they take on a solidity. They take on a form that is physical, which is why they can get injured and hurt. Is that the same with the fae? I don't know. Because the thing is, with things like Bigfoot and dogmen, they can be there 1 second and completely disappear the next.
Yeah.
And as big as they are, you never see them coming or going. You
Bigfoot rides a motorbike.
That'd be some size bike, wouldn't it?
God.
But yeah, it's intriguing. It is intriguing. But the fae are there. They've been there forever. They're going to be there forever. I think they're the basis. I think they're nature spirits. They're the basis of nature, or a big part of nature, or just part of nature. I do believe that they are guardians, monitors, protecting everything in the natural world as best they can. Yeah, Kelpies is another one, Emma. Yeah, that's an interesting one. We'll have to get Emma on here one week.
Yeah.
Emma, do you want to come on one week?
Yeah. She's literally 18 feet from me. She's there looking at
Tell her she's got to come on. We'll get her on.
You got to come on, Emma.
After next.
Yeah.
No, you're not. She says she's
good
right. Her knowledge is so good in the face. So
yes, that's what we want. It's good. We need
agree.
Stimulation. We need people that know that can have a chat with us. They think that what's that, Noreen Hill? They think they're definitely crossing between dimensions. That's how they disappear so quickly. Yeah, it wouldn't. I mean, I believe
they have got to be interdimensional. They can't be.
Do you know what? I've had a theory about the fae, and I've had a theory about Bigfoot and Dogman. Not Dogman so much, although it falls in the same category. Although Dogman is meant to be seen as something completely sinister as opposed to Bigfoot and what have you. But my theory is that people said they hear a tearing sound like metal. Then these things appear, and then the tearing sound you hear it again, and then they're gone. So it's opening up portals, isn't it? And probably completely wrong. But my theory is, are these portals the trees?
Could be.
Are they accessing this dimension through trees? Living things, intelligent things. So when you think about, what was that? Sorry, I didn't see that. Oh, yeah, Nettie. When you think about it, the fae are very important to Christmas with pixies that are connected to Nicholas. Well, yeah. I mean, it's like anything, isn't it? You got to remember a lot of pagan tradition and pagan tradition has been hijacked by Christianity, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what
A
they've
lot of
done
it
is they've
has.
used it. They've used
Definitely.
Christianity as a veneer, or paganism as a veneer over Christianity, or Christianity is a slight veneer over paganism. It's like you look at where the churches are built; they're on pagan grounds. You know, it was the idea was to conquer somebody. You needed to take their sacred sites and utilize them, and that's what they did. And they wouldn't have used a sacred site, I don't think, unless they knew that there was some form of energy there. So
they've all got yew trees in.
Yeah, exactly.
They've all got yew trees in them as well. You know, that's a pagan tree, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Churchyards have always got them in, haven't they?
Yeah.
So that's where it is. I hope you enjoyed this week, guys. We're going to be wrapping up in a little bit.
Oh, fabulous!
And then
is the time? Bloody hell! The time's gone through already.
I know,
wow.
I know. So we'll be back next week with another chat for you of the weird and wonderful world here at the Weird Room, and we'll go from there. We're not going to tell you what the subject is. We're going to keep it a secret, and then we're going to
until the day of.
Until you die, yeah, exactly. And then we're going to keep it a secret, and then what we're going to do is we're going to discuss it on here, and hopefully everybody can join in. And like I say, if you haven't heard or read about the Gnomes of Woolton, plenty of stuff on YouTube about it. There are a couple of books that have been written about it out there, although they're really hard to get hold of, but I'm sure you can get hold of one. And there's lots of ideas and theories behind it, and you can get the transcripts of the you can get the transcripts from what the children was written down or was recorded by the teacher of the children's experience online. I'll let you know where that comes from. It's in a PDF. It makes quite good, interesting reading.
There's also some podcasts.
Thank you. And I think that's it. So, thanks very much, everybody. I think we're going to wrap up now. Well, it's slightly early, but we're going to wrap up now, and we'll see you all next week. If you didn't get a chance, if you come in a little bit later and you think I have no idea what this lot going on about, if you go back, if you want to listen to the beginning, we give you an idea of we give you the overall story of what went on there at Wilton Park and what happened, and it'll catch up with it. But go and search it out online because it's a very interesting subject, very interesting story.
There's some podcasts as well out there. There's podcasts about it if you have a search.
There are, yeah. There's a great one called you'll have to look at it online. The Fairy Podcast or something. There's a young lady who runs that. That's good. Kate Ray, I think, runs one. She's good. There's plenty of good places out there that deal specifically with the Fae. So go out there and have a look. Go out there and watch some podcasts. Enjoy yourselves. And that's it. I don't know what else is on this week. I don't know who else is coming on this week. I don't know if there's anybody else on this evening.
Chris Mollet is going to be on tomorrow.
Chris is on tomorrow, Chris Mollet, yeah. What time is he on? Do you know?
I have no idea. I think 10 o'clock your time.
Okay. Yeah. Because Chris is in Scotland, isn't he?
Yep. He's in Scotland. He's a medium.
Yes. Yeah, that'll make for interesting watching. That'll make for a good evening.
Well, thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, guys. And we will see you all next week.
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.